The idea of making a teenage Batman was something that it took us a while to wrap our head around.
He would have to have an anger inside him because Batman has an anger inside him.
Batman goes on. Bruce Wayne may be gone, the show may be gone, but there'll always be a Batman.
So, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Batman Beyond. What initially started out as a studio mandate, with Warner Brothers wanting a teenage Batman show for a younger audience to compete with Spider-Man, somehow turned into an all-time classic and left a huge impact on the entire Batman mythos. The vibe of this show was immaculate, from the fantastical cyberpunk aesthetic, the villain and character designs, the art style that felt different but still right at home with the animated series, and the electronic industrial metal that was the soundtrack. Not to mention Terry McGinnis and everything that the character brought to the role of Batman. This result of corporate meddling through sheer act of will and talent managed to be something incredibly special. I've always wanted to try my hand at writing a Batman Beyond movie. Like, if for whatever reason DC came to me and said, you can make a movie about any character, who would it be? I would say Green Arrow. But then I would say Superman. But then I would say Batman Beyond. Listen, top 3 still isn't bad though, let's be real. It was recently revealed that Warner Brothers was pitched a theatrical animated Batman Beyond movie from some of the artists behind Into and Across the Spider-Verse. We got to see some concept art, and from the looks of it, the movie seemed really cool. The Spider-Verse style of animation would have really lended itself to Neo Gotham and the world of Batman Beyond, and on the whole, this looked like a really exciting project. And WB said no. Now, we don't know the reason why they passed on it. It could be because they're already secretly working on a Batman Beyond movie, or because it didn't align with the current plans at DC with their new universe, or David Zaslav just has a fundamental hate for all things animation, or for any other myriad of reasons. Apparently, when they went in for the pitch, they were told there was no way WB would ever make a Batman Beyond movie. But their pitch was so good that Warner Brothers never turned into a maybe. But still, just from the information that we have, a movie like this would basically print money, and this seems like an absolutely insane decision. Whether it's animated or live action, a Batman Beyond movie has so much potential to be something incredible. There are so many things you can do with the concept alone that can resonate with the new age of audiences. And so here's my pitch for Batman Beyond. Before we get started, this video is brought to you by Raycon. Raycon's everyday earbuds are the perfect way to tune out all the noise around you and tune in to something great. Their audio quality rivals all the big audio brands you know and love at a price you'll love even more. Listen, I know like 90% of you aren't actually watching this video and you're just listening to it while you play Fortnite or something, completely disregarding all the work I do for the visual element of a YouTube video, so you might as well listen to the audio in as good as quality as possible. I'm kidding, by the way, you can engage with my videos however you want. I do the same thing. While making this video, I've been blasting the Batman Beyond soundtrack to get into the mood, either when I'm on a walk or doing chores or working on thumbnails, and with 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of battery life, I always knew they'd be up to the task. The buds have 3 customizable sound profiles, tap controls for volume, play pause, skipping tracks, answering calls, and your voice assistant. And they also have built-in noise isolation and an awareness mode that lets you stay mindful of your surroundings. And unlike some other wireless earbuds, they include customizable ear tips to ensure you get a better, more comfortable fit. Not to stress anyone out or anything, but Mother's Day is right around the corner, and I know my mom's been having a lot of problems with her wireless earbuds falling out of her ears, so I'm gonna get her her own pair of Raycons. Let's hope she doesn't watch this video, or else that's gonna ruin that surprise, but oh well. Click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/TroyAboyo to get 20% off your Raycon order plus free shipping. Thanks to Raycon for sponsoring this video, and thanks to my patrons who are able to get all my videos early and ad-free for just $1 a month. We open on Crime Alley. A couple and their son cut through as a shortcut, and a group of muggers step out in front of them and pull a gun on the family. We pan up to the shadows above to see another figure lurking in the darkness, with a pair of glowing white eyes and a red bat symbol. Batman leaps down and puts a stop to the mugging, and the family's able to escape. Bruce Wayne is 60 years old. In these past years, the cave has grown emptier and emptier. First Alfred, then Dick, then Barbara, Jason, Tim, Cassandra, even Damian. All of his family either died or left him. But he hasn't let that stop him from his mission. In his age, he's getting slower, weaker. Years of this life has put so much stress on his heart, and now he's feeling the consequences. His new suit tries to make up for it, protects him, lets him hit harder, controls his heart rate, camouflages him, but he can't run from the fact that his body is failing him. After the fight, Bruce feels his heart begin to palpitate. He's had to start taking his pills more and more often now. One of the muggers sneaks behind Batman and hits him over the head, knocking him to the ground. Bruce tries to fight him off, but his heart and his body won't let him. He manages to wrestle the gun away and points it at the man. The mugger stops, dead in his tracks. Terrified, he starts to plead with the bat, begging for his life. Batman looks down the barrel of the gun, his adrenaline pumping, his body in pain, his heart beating faster and faster in his ear. The pounding drowns out all other sounds. He's terrified, he's angry, he's not thinking, and he pulls the trigger. All right, hear me out a little bit. Right from the start, I want to make it clear that this is not the show. I think if we're going to make a theatrical Batman Beyond movie, it needs to be its own thing entirely and able to be accessible to people who've never seen the original series. It's actually my issue with a lot of modern Batman Beyond media. There's some great stuff out there, namely the newer comics like Neo Year, but for the longest time, it always felt like everything was just trying to copy the original series and never let itself break free from those restrictions. The show made a lot of great decisions, but then a lot of not so great ones. And so while certain ideas are inevitably going to be similar, I want to try and go in a different direction that's still in the same spirit as the original. There's a clicking sound, and the gun doesn't fire. It's jammed. Bruce drops the gun and looks down at his hands, shaking, as the man runs away. Bruce looks at the street, the same street where he lost his parents, the same street where the Batman was born. And now, where the Batman dies. We cut to the Batcave as Bruce returns home. He almost crossed the line tonight. If not for some random accident, a cruel chance of fate, Batman would have been a murderer. Bruce is just a man. He can make mistakes. But if he's fallible, then so is Batman. And it's time to end this crusade before he goes too far. After all of these years, it's time for the symbol to die. Bruce Wayne takes one final look at the Batcave, at the legacy of Batman, before turning off the lights. Never again. One thing I loved about the Batman Beyond concept that I don't think a lot of people really grasp is that this future is, for all intents and purposes, an Elseworld. Yes, it was technically the canon future of the DC animated universe, but this entire situation is the result of the worst case scenario for the character. It's how the comics handle it, which I always really liked, and how I'd want them to go about it with this new DCU. Not only does this mean that the future isn't set in stone, but it also says so much about the character of Batman. This isn't the be-all end-all for these characters, but instead it's a story that asks, what if Batman was pushed to his breaking point? What if he never grew or never changed to the point where he destroys all of his relationships with the rest of his family and lives all alone as an old man still fighting this mission? And more importantly, what if he stopped being Bruce Wayne? Not only does he give up Batman, but Bruce gives up his company and all the good work he was doing for Gotham to live alone in his mansion for the rest of his life. The entire state of the character in the city and even the world is the result of his mistake. But in spite of this, in spite of the worst case scenario and dystopian future that came, there's still hope. Even when Bruce Wayne fails, the world still balances itself. Batman can still rise again and live on. 20 years later, we cut to 17-year-old Terry McGinnis being released from a juvenile detention center. His sentence could have been 1 month with good behavior, but after all the fights he started, instead he got the full 6. We learned that when he was a kid, Terry's dad was killed in a car accident. It wasn't some grand conspiracy or murder that he could get revenge for, just that, an accident. One that left his family with a crippling amount of debt from medical bills, no less. And because of that, Terry was never able to get closure, and he started acting out more and more. I really want to establish that Terry is a kid with a heart of gold, but he has a legitimate chip on his shoulder and has made a lot of mistakes. He throws the first punch, steals, cuts class, fights dirty. He's someone with a lot of anger inside of him, but he doesn't know who or what he's angry at. And so he lashes out at his teachers, his friends, his family, and because of that, he's been labeled a bad kid by the world around him and is always written off, which only makes him lash out even more. But he so desperately wants to be given a chance, just one chance to prove himself. For generations, Batman has been portrayed as a wealthy, clean-cut billionaire whose entire identity has been defined by one tragedy from his childhood. The persona of Batman is the product of Bruce Wayne's environment and his privilege. Nobody who has rent to pay would go around dressed like a bat to fight crime. Therapy is much cheaper and arguably more effective. And so I've always been fascinated with the class element of Terry McGinnis, how Terry and Bruce's backgrounds defined who they were under the mask. Now we have a Batman who didn't grow up rich, a Batman who knows what it's like to go to jail, to maybe be on the receiving end of that justice. It says that Batman isn't about the money. Batman isn't about having gadgets or a fast car or being a master martial artist or the world's greatest detective or being perfect. Above all else, being Batman is about having a pain in your soul and turning that pain into a burning desire to do the right thing. Terry takes the train back home, and here we see how much Gotham has changed over the years. Now it's a massive cyberpunk landscape with flying cars, huge glowing skyscrapers, and bright neon lights. But on the ground floor, there's pain and poverty and suffering that's been forgotten about.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
And all of this innovation was spearheaded by Powers Technology, owned by billionaire Derek Powers. 20 years ago, Bruce Wayne sold Wayne Enterprises to Powers, his only competition, meaning that Powers Tech effectively became the single most powerful corporation in Gotham. The borderline monopoly led to a huge boom in technological innovation. Gotham City was expanded, combining with its sister city Bloodhaven into one massive mega skyline known as Neo Gotham. The cyberpunk aesthetic of the original series was always so much fun, never mind that it was literally just Spider-Man 2099, but the technology and Neo Gotham's identity set itself apart apart from anything else that Batman or DC in general had attempted before. Ironically, this show was the reason we never got a Spider-Man 2099 show, and instead it got Spider-Man Unlimited, but that's a whole other video. This thing's long enough. The cyberpunk genre doesn't necessarily have a clear origin, but most people would credit Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, as well as Japanese anime from the 80s and 90s like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and Evangelion for kickstarting the cyberpunk revolution. It's characterized by the gritty visuals, the neon lights, the high tech, with themes that focus on technology, class, and politics. And those themes are a huge part of the genre. You can't have a cyberpunk story where it's cool and radical to live there. These corporate controlled cities are supposed to be a dystopian hellscape. You can of course like the aesthetic and the vibe, but you're not supposed to want the world to be like that. That's either the result of bad writing or really shitty media literacy, or let's be honest, it's probably both. A lot of modern cyberpunk media tends to try and water all of those politics down, namely because big corporations don't want to spend a lot of money on media that criticizes big corporations. Big shocker. Maybe that was Zaslav's problem, who knows? But every once in a while, things fall through the cracks and we're able to get really great cyberpunk stories in today's age. Batman Beyond was able to do a lot with its restrictions, especially for a mostly kid audience. But for this, I really want to lean into the things that the show wasn't able to do. Really address those ideas and those themes, putting the punk back in cyberpunk. In the 20 years since the Batman's disappearance, crime started to skyrocket. With no more vigilantes to scare criminals off the streets, in a radical experiment of philanthropy, Powers invested in the GCPD and turned them into a fully privatized technological police force. Powers' tech headquarters and the GCPD precinct merged into one massive skyscraper in the heart of Gotham, towering over everything below. These neo-cops were equipped with advanced weaponry and technology, and are able to enforce the law by any means necessary without consequence. They roam the streets of the lower income communities that Terry grew up in, harassing innocent people and starting fights, unchecked authority without answering to anybody. They're hunting a new drug making its way throughout the streets that people are calling Blight. Nobody knows where it comes from or who's dealing it, but it's highly addictive and dangerous, with more side effects than you can count. The radiation literally eats away at your body from the inside. The people who it doesn't kill end up addicted, forced to live in the streets and spending all their money to get more. And on top of that, there's the Joker Gang, a group of thugs who've taken on the mantle of the Clown Prince of Crime after his death, going around vandalizing property and spreading anarchy. Things look like they might be changing though. Neo Gotham has a newly elected mayor, Dick Grayson. He's creating social programs, pushing back against Powers and trying to limit the authority of the new GCPD, and overall genuinely wants to do good for the people. Terry returns home and we meet his mom and his brother Matt. Since his dad's death and the way Terry's been acting because of it, they haven't really ever been able to go back to normal. His brother was too young to really remember him, but it's torn a wedge between Terry and his mom. There's just this weight between the two of them. He knows she's angry at him, disappointed in him, but she doesn't know how to deal with it. That night, Terry goes out and meets up with his friends, including his half-girlfriend, half-ex, Dana. I think it'd be interesting if Terry and Dana's relationship is already kind of complicated before all the superhero shenanigans starts, just to show how flawed Terry is and how it's affecting his personal life. Maybe this isn't the first time that Terry's gone to juvie since she's known him, and maybe she can see him for the person that he really is, and that's what he likes about her, but he keeps on screwing things up. I really want to explore the culture of Neo Gotham and the setting. I don't think it should be full-on futuristic sci-fi or anything, and it definitely doesn't need to be a realistic depiction of the future. Like, let's be honest, we're not going from this to this in 50 years, but I'm thinking more like Akira vibes, with the leather jackets and the smoking and motorcycles, and visually show the difference in the classes. The wealthy dress a different way. They're the ones in the flying cars, while everyone else is literally and metaphorically on the ground. Maybe in this authoritative hellscape, younger people started leaning more into the 90s grunge punk aesthetic. And it would be interesting to make Dana more vocal of those beliefs, where Terry doesn't really think too much on it, and she keeps on telling him that he needs to find his purpose. A couple members of the Joker Gang show up and start bothering them. They try and get Dana hooked on some Blight and push all the right buttons for Terry, and like always, he throws the first punch. Terry fights off the Jokers all on his own, 3 against 1, and it results in the police showing up and getting involved. Terry, knowing that if he gets caught, he'll be sent straight back to juvie, grabs one of the Joker's motorcycles and drives away. We get a little chase scene of Terry outrunning the cops, and maybe we throw a little Akira slide in there, who knows? Also, is it pronounced Akira or Akira? Because I swear to God, for years I heard it called Akira, but then when I finally watched the movie, the version that I watched called it Akira, so now I don't know what to believe. Let me know down in the comments what team you're on. It's a stupid bit. Why the fuck did I do that? They end up chasing this kid for miles, down winding roads far away from the rest of the city, until Terry comes across a huge, towering mansion. It's old and decrepit, like nobody's taken care of it for decades. It must be abandoned or something. Terry hops the fence and sneaks in through a window, and the cops just break the door down to follow him. Classic, love to see it. He sneaks his way through this dark and cobweb-covered mansion, and takes cover behind an old, dusty grand piano and hides there until the police leave. Either by coincidence or some sheer act of fate, he accidentally presses one of the piano keys, and the wall behind him opens up to reveal a dark tunnel. He makes his way down the stairs, venturing deeper and deeper into the earth until he comes to a clearing. He turns on the lights to reveal a massive cave filled with cars, planes, a dinosaur, a giant penny, all covered in dust like it's been left untouched for decades. And in the center of the room is a glass case in a dark costume with a red bat symbol. Now, the suit is something that I actually have a lot of very strong opinions about. The design is supposed to be simple. It's part of why it's so cool. It's honestly kind of astounding that Bruce Timm was able to design a new version of Batman that's equally as iconic as the original. Just pure black, wide eyes, a belt, and a bright red logo. I want the suit to feel like it's made out of pure darkness. Like, you know that paint that absorbs all light? Yeah, just like slather in that shit. The mouth is something that would be a bit of a challenge. In animation, it's not a problem, but in live action, I could see them just covering the mouth altogether, kind of like Chase Fox's Batman design. It shouldn't be bulky or textured or some overly designed armor. It's so high tech and so advanced that it comes back around to looking like cloth again. I'm looking at you, Arkham Knight. Listen, I know that there's like technical limitations with like the way Arkham Knight suits work, but I don't know how we went from this to this, but it drives me crazy. Terry is in complete disbelief. He had heard stories and rumors about someone called the Batman, but he figured it was just some urban legend. To think he was actually real and standing in his old base, his Batcave. He hears something upstairs. A dark, booming voice echoes in the darkness. Terry panics. With nowhere to hide, he puts on the costume. Somehow it changes shape to fit him perfectly. He opens the case and closes it behind him, hiding in plain sight. A figure emerges into the cave. In the shadows, we can't see his face, but he stops to investigate the cave for intruders. After a moment, the old man slowly makes his way to the massive computer in the center and disables the silent alarm. The man hears something and quickly turns around to see the glass case empty. We cut to Terry leaping out the window he came in through. In the distance, he hears the old man yelling out for him and the sound of a large dog's barking. He tries to find the bike he came in on, but the cops must have taken it. And as if the suit was reading his mind, a pair of massive bat wings spring out of his back and jets shoot out of his boots, launching him into the air. At first, it takes him a second to get stabilized, but he's able to find his balance in part because of the suit. Instantly, he feels how high tech it is, even for something so old. Hidden servos and motors support his back and his body, the wings and jets adjusting themselves to keep him stable. Terry can't help but let out a laugh of joy, probably the first time he's had fun in years. He soars through the air, away from the old mansion, back over the massive skyline of Neo Gotham, and lands on top of the tallest building he can find.
This is something else.
In the heads-up display, the computer in the suit highlights a dark alley behind a movie theater. A pair of neo-cops are harassing a kid, can't be much older than Terry's brother. They thought he was carrying blight, but it was just a stick of gum. But not like they care either way. One of the officers shoves the kid against the wall, and without even thinking, Terry leaps down to the street below, his suit cushioning the fall. If you wanted someone to kick your asses, you could have just called. Terry fights off the two cops, the hidden padding and armor in the suit, letting him hit harder than he ever possibly could, and they go down without even a second thought. Terry looks at the kid, who doesn't seem to be hurt, and without a word, he leaps off into the air. He flies home, takes off the suit, and hides it under his bed. This thing is insane. He has no idea how it works, but it's gotta be worth millions, if he can even find someone to sell it to. Or what if he kept it? He thinks back to helping that kid. The thrill, the exhilaration, the adrenaline of the fight. For years, Terry's been angry, and this could be the chance he's been looking for. A chance to let off some steam, do some good, and knock a couple heads in the process. It's like something sparked a fire in him. That's when there's a knock on his apartment door. Terry goes to open it, and in the doorway, we see a huge black dog and an old man with a cane. For the past 20 years, Bruce Wayne has lived alone, in his mansion far away from Gotham City and its problems, with nobody but his dog Ace. He sold his company to Derek Powers, completely abandoned his role in the city, and just disappeared. Until now, when some punk kid broke into his home and stole his suit. Now, if you had asked me a couple years ago who should play Old Man Bruce in a live-action Batman Beyond, my answer would have been obvious. Michael Keaton returning to play an older Bruce Wayne and passing that torch to Terry honestly felt like such an easy slam dunk for DC. But after the whole dumpster fire that was the Flash movie and how Warner Brothers just absolutely wasted him, trying to capitalize on cheap nostalgia instead of doing anything remotely interesting with the character, I'm not sure if it would work as well now. It could still be cool, don't get me wrong, especially if they built upon the world that Burton created for him, but I don't think the impact would be the same. George Clooney could also be really interesting to sort of get a second chance at the character, but honestly, I would rather see someone new take a shot. Someone who never got the chance and now would finally be able to play the character this way. Bruce demands the suit back, threatening him with security camera footage. He did some research on Terry, and Bruce knows he's on probation. One phone call, and Terry McGinnis goes right back to juvie. But Terry calls his bluff, saying that if Bruce snitches, then Terry will tell everyone the real identity of the Batman. The two of them clash heads until Terry's mom walks in and asks what's going on. In a split second, Terry comes up with an idea. He says that Mr. Wayne has offered him a job as his assistant. In his old age, he needs a gopher. An assistant to go for this and go for that. He's just so old like that. The disgruntled Bruce tries to argue, but Terry doesn't let him get a word in. And when they're alone again, Terry says that he has a proposition. This blight stuff has made its way through neighborhood after neighborhood, destroying communities and ruining the lives of good people. Bruce just has to let Terry put a stop to it, and after that, he can have his suit back and they can go their separate ways. Bruce grumbles to himself before reaching out and shaking Terry's hand. Then let's get started. Batman. We cut to the warehouse that's creating blight. There are rows and rows of green fluid, all being compressed and irradiated to create it. Heading the operation is a small, frail old man in a long coat. As he experiments on the substance, a news broadcast plays in the background. There are reports of a man flying over Gotham City, dressed in all black. The man stops. His eyes widen, and he looks at the report. No, it couldn't be. The door barges open and in walks billionaire Derek Powers. Listen, I thought about making it some grand reveal that the evil billionaire was involved somehow, but you already knew that shit. Derek Powers has had an incredibly difficult life. Ever since he was born, he was given everything he ever wanted. Now he's in control of this multi-billion-dollar corporation, making more money in a single day than the average household makes in their entire lifetime. And that's a lot of pressure for just a little guy like him. Wait, hang on, did I say difficult? Sorry, I meant incredibly easy bullshit with no challenges whatsoever life. I do think making him a Nepo baby could be an interesting gateway into that conversation for superhero mantles and legacy characters. Justice League Unlimited had a twist in its final episodes that revealed, spoilers for a 20-year-old show. I've been told that this is a spoiler and I shouldn't just like outwardly say this, but it's a video about Batman Beyond, so it's like you probably already know this, but here's a time code if you just skip to this if you don't want to hear this shit. But Justice League Unlimited had a twist in its final episodes that revealed Terry was actually a cloned son of Bruce Wayne. It was a controversial change even within the Batman Beyond team. It never really sat right with me personally, and so this could be a neat way to explore that concept. Should Batman be a mantle that's passed down from father to son, like to Damian or even another member of the Bat family? Or is it better to have him be someone completely new, someone who's only related to Bruce by the same burning desire for justice? Powers talks to the man and checks on his status. Without a word, the man hands Powers a sheet with reports of his testing. We can't tell what it all means, but all we know is Powers is planning something. And the only person who has any chance of stopping him is Mayor Dick Grayson. But Powers isn't worried. Grayson won't be an issue for much longer. For weeks, Bruce helps to train Terry, and we see the ways that he's taking down the Blight operation. He takes down dealer after dealer, getting more and more information. He even meets with Barbara Gordon, who's become a private investigator since leaving Bruce, as well as Jason Todd, who now runs a shelter for young kids. And the rest of the Bat family either retired or left the city. Tim lives with his husband, Cassandra moved to Hong Kong, and God knows where the hell Damian is. Stephanie, Harper, Luke, everybody just moved on. As the mayor, Dick is always surrounded by a masked bodyguard, so Terry hasn't been able to meet with him personally, but he's been publicly supportive of the new Batman. During Terry's training, we see that Bruce is trying to get Terry to be more like him, to control his anger, to fight like him, to think like him, but Terry doesn't work that way. He's not some hyper-trained martial arts ninja. He's a kid who fights quick and dirty. He cracks jokes and doesn't care who he punches, especially when it comes to the Joker gang. But over time, despite his initial pushback, Bruce is starting to actually enjoy working with Terry. It's not the same, but Batman is back and Bruce is starting to feel that fire again after all these years. We also see the ways that this new Batman is cutting into Terry's personal life. He doesn't sleep, he cuts class, stays out all night, he ditches Dana and his friends, and it's leading to him disappointing even more people in his life. His mom catches him sneaking out, sees the bruises and the cuts, but she doesn't know how to talk to him about it. And if she tries to, he just uses Wayne as an excuse. But every day it starts to hurt her more and more. I'm realizing now that this is basically just DC's Spider-Man Homecoming, like a dark and fucked up version of Spider-Man Homecoming. The whole investigation culminates in Terry infiltrating the nightclub. All of the leads point to the person most connected to the supplier, a Joker gang member named Jared. No relation. Jared is a slimy little con man trying to act tough by covering himself in tattoos and flexing how damaged he is. Okay, maybe some relation. Terry realizes that this is one of the Jokers that he got into a fight with that led to him discovering Wayne in the Batsuit. So I guess he might as well go and thank him personally. And we get a John Wick kind of fight in the nightclub. The flashing lights, the blasting music, that kind of thing. Terry follows Jared into a private room where he's supposed to be meeting with a supplier. He catches the Joker off guard and starts to interrogate him about everything he knows. At first, Jared squeals like a pig, but then he looks up and sees a security camera slowly turn and focus in on him, and he stops himself. Terry tries to get him to keep going, but Jared changes his tune. Now he starts saying that he's the brains behind the operation, that he makes the Blight in his basement, and that he's the one dealing to everyone. It's all him. Before Terry can say anything, the doors burst open and the GCPD officers barge in with their guns drawn. One of the cops grabs a hold of Terry and tosses him aside with a level of strength that Terry wasn't expecting. Terry camouflages himself to escape and watches from the rafters as they arrest the clown. They say they'd been following him for weeks, and now with the confession, they can finally put him away. As he's taken into custody, Terry watches from above. Bruce congratulates him on a job well done, but Terry can feel something is off. As he's being taken away, Terry tosses a small tracker onto him. Why did he change his tune? Why is this supposed crime lord still slumming it at this club? How did a guy like Jared get the resources to produce something like Blight? He was scared of something, but Terry can't figure out what. There's something else going on here. We cut to the Blight factory, and we see the mysterious man again. He's silent as he watches the television, seeing news reports of Terry and his takedown of the operation. There's no denying it. There's a new Batman in town. Someone new taking on the mantle. Someone new trying to prove themselves. The man smiles. Someone new to break. Bane has always been one of my favorite Batman villains. Not only his raw strength, but also his intellect makes him one of the most dangerous of the rogues gallery. Batman Beyond didn't really use Bane, having him be in a vegetative state and the rest of the episode being a pretty overt PSA about steroid use in sports. And so I figured this was the perfect opportunity to see the ways that Bane could be used in the cyberpunk setting. A staple of the genre is the concept of body modification in cybernetics, and Bane is the perfect character to explore that. How does he contrast how Bruce reacted to his body failing? How does he feel about this new Batman taking up the mantle? Bane grew grew up in a prison, so he and Terry might not be as different as one might think. 20 years ago, Bane was one of Batman's most formidable opponents. They clashed over and over again. Bane saw glory in the fight, in trying to destroy Batman, not just physically, but also emotionally. But then, one day, Batman disappeared. Nobody knows why or what happened, but on that day, the fire in Bane's soul was snuffed out. Something finally broke the Bat, and it wasn't him. In his defeat, his life lost most of its meaning. He started working for anyone who would hire him. Crime lords, mercenaries, government officials, they all wanted his Venom formula, either for themselves or for an army, but none of them understood it. Venom is a dangerous substance. The body is not meant to handle that kind of thing. Most who use it are killed from the side effects. Bane was able to control it, but even now, after so many years of using it, his body started to break. He's covered with scars and stitches from the surgeries, how much he's changed and modified his body to stay alive, to the point where now he's only able to inject small amounts into specific limbs for short periods. For years, he wasted his time with fools who didn't understand his limitations, until Derek Powers. Powers knew that with the right amount of radiation, Venom could be mutated, changed and molded into the perfect serum with no side effects, into something so powerful it would become a blight on whoever crossed him. But now, as if some act of fate itself, this new Batman, this imposter, it's sparking that fire again. Now, he's found purpose once more. Terry tries to tell Bruce that something is off. He says that he thinks the GCPD are involved somehow, but Bruce just writes him off. Their deal was to take down the Blight and then Terry would return the suit, and now he's expecting him to uphold his end of the bargain. Terry is taken aback by this, and all their time together, he started to enjoy being Batman, and he thought Wayne was starting to too. Terry says that he just wants to check one thing, and then he'll give the suit back. Terry sneaks into the GCPD headquarters, assuming that the clown Jared would be there in a cell for holding, along with the dozens of other Joker gang members that he helped put away. But the tracker shows him as being deep underground for some reason. Terry discovers a secret elevator that goes deeper and deeper until we discover a massive laboratory. No, a factory. The Blight. It's been here the whole time, created by the GCPD in the heart of Gotham, and distributed to the people on the ground as an excuse to harass, detain, and control them. Terry finds the clown, or at least his body. They must have killed him for knowing too much. He learns that Powers is working with Bane. Terry's read about him from Bruce's old files, but Bruce didn't even think he was still alive. And he learns the truth about Blight, how it's actually an irradiated version of the Venom serum, and how Powers has been testing the formula on the people of Gotham to find side effects and flaws in the molecular structure before activating the Venom properties and using its power for his police force. An entire army, already with unwavering control, and now with the strength of 10 men. We cut to Powers' office at the top floor of the building, where we see him meeting with Mayor Dick Grayson, joined by his masked bodyguard, and a mysterious old man stands in the corner of the room. Grayson is just learning about this operation himself, and not just that, but also that Derek Powers is thinking bigger, to expand his efforts beyond Gotham, to continue to grow upon and refine his formula. Superpowered Neo officers in every city across America, to franchise the police. He's already set up a meeting tomorrow morning with the current mayor of Star City. He'll continue to grow and grow, testing more and refining his formula, a self-fulfilling cycle. The cops get stronger, more people get addicted, arrest rates go up, and Powers gets richer to do it all again. A lot of Batman media tends to ride the line when it comes to the police and propaganda. On one hand, it's set in a city where the entire police force is either corrupt or ineffective or both. It's so bad that we need a guy in a bat costume to run around and do their jobs for them, and the only good cop is the one who goes upstairs to turn on the light in the roof. And while there are definitely great stories that come from that, and I love Jim Gordon as a character, at the same time, it's a fine line to walk. Even some of my favorite pieces of Batman media have struggled with this. If there are so many bad apples and only one good apple in the entire city, then maybe the problem lies with the overall policing system and the authority the police have and the power they're given, and not with the individual officers themselves. And I think for a Batman Beyond movie, with its cyberpunk setting and everything that comes with the genre, as well as a Batman who's specifically been arrested before and grew up on that side of the law, this would be a perfect time to explore that relationship. What role do the police, especially a hyper-funded police with complete and total authoritative control, actually play in society in preventing crime? And why would someone like Batman still need to exist in these conditions? If there are so many bad apples, then what does that say about the apple tree, or the person planting it, or the person who went to go pick apples from the apple tree? This metaphor, we're losing it. For his entire political career, Grayson has been trying to limit the authority of Powers in the new GCPD. And this is 10 steps over the line. He's going to, there's a gunshot. Dick Grayson looks down and sees a bullet in his chest. We see Derek Powers holding a gun beneath his desk. He fires 3 more shots before Grayson's bodyguard can even react. When the guard tries to attack, the man in the corner steps in. He grabs a hold of the guard and without breaking a sweat, throws him out the glass window. Powers congratulates Bane on a job well done, but Bane stops him. There's someone else in the room with them. He reaches his arm out and grabs a hold of Terry, camouflages against the wall of the office, and slams him into the ground. This strength, it's unlike anything Terry's ever experienced before. Powers laughs that they have a little pest problem on their hands. Without even a second thought, he picks up his phone and makes a call to every single officer in the city. He tells them that Mayor Grayson was just murdered, shot down in cold blood by Batman. Terry tries to fight off Bane, but even in his old age and with his broken body, he doesn't stand a chance. He's somehow pumping venom into each limb, growing the muscles rapidly and using 100% of his strength just for the impact. And that's how he's able to keep the venom from damaging his body more than it already has. He's pulling a Deku. That's what I'm going for here. Bane just absolutely beats the hell out of Terry, taunting him the entire time. He calls him a fraud, a pretender. Bane tosses Terry aside and tells him to keep fighting. The real Batman would fight him. But instead, he runs. Bane laughs, calling him as a coward as Terry leaps out the window and runs away. He flies through the city, being chased down by the whole of the GCPD. He manages to lose them and he stands on a rooftop overlooking the city skyline. Every single billboard lights up with a picture of him plastered all over Gotham. Batman, wanted for murder. Terry returns to the Batcave and calls out for Bruce. This entire time he's been trying to reach him, but he just got silence. Out of nowhere, a line shoots out from the darkness and ties up Terry. It has an electromagnetic frequency, completely disabling his suit. Out from the shadows, 3 figures emerge: Barbara Gordon, Tim Drake, and Jason Todd, the original Bat family, seeking justice for their brother. Outside of a couple guest appearances, the original series didn't really do much with the rest of the Bat family, aside from Barbara being the new Commissioner Gordon and but I've always thought it would be super interesting to explore how they would react to Terry as Batman, especially the characters that weren't around in the original series. Also, I know that killing Dick Grayson is basically like a trope at this point. This dude's been through a whole lot, but I really think it's one of those cases where Dick is this beacon of hope for a lot of the DC universe, and in this sort of dystopian Elseworld, it's a good way to literally kill that hope for the characters and see how they react to that. Plus, if you want more Dick Grayson, I made a whole Nightwing video. You can watch that after this. But given the dystopia of this world and the massive time jump, it'd be interesting to explore how much they've changed in that time. Dick mostly remained the same, but in what ways do these people still act in character? And what other ways have they maybe changed for the worse? Terry tries to reason with all of them. He tries to explain what happened about Powers and Bane, how they don't have any time to lose, that he didn't kill Grayson, but they don't listen to him. They won't even give him a chance, and they want to turn him over to the police, either because they're too blinded by their emotions at the death in their family, or because they just never trusted Terry to begin with. Where's Bruce? He'll explain the whole thing. They're right. And Bruce Wayne emerges from the shadows, grieving over the loss of his son, the pain, the betrayal. Terry crossed a line, the exact reason that Bruce gave it up to begin with. I should have never let you have this life. These people don't know him. They don't know where he's from. Terry just showed up one day and started saying he was Batman. Hell, if anyone has any right to do that, it would be, we hear a voice. He's not a killer. A figure walks into the cave. Dick Grayson's bodyguard, having somehow managed to survive the fall, takes off his mask. Damian Wayne. But he's no Batman. Damian, after so many years in hiding from his family, working undercover with Dick Grayson, has returned. He explains what happened, how Dick was murdered by Derek Powers, but they can't let Terry run around as Batman any longer. The mantle is his birthright, and he stole it from him. Every single one of them worked with Bruce back in the day. They were brought in and earned their spot in the cave, but not Terry. He broke in, stole the suit, and just decided for everyone that he should be Batman, that he should be allowed to wear that symbol and everything it represents. If Terry were really Batman, he would have taken down the Blight operation weeks ago. He would have seen Bane's involvement from a mile away. He would have prevented Powers from killing Grayson in the first place. But instead, he wore that suit and used it as an excuse to punch people, a way to deal with his anger. Just a kid, pretending he's Batman. Out of fear, out of anger, Terry lashes out. He calls out the entire family for their bullshit, but Bruce especially. How Bruce gave up being Batman because he was scared. Scared he almost crossed the line, so he just gave up. And not just Batman, he gave up being Bruce Wayne. Sold everything to Powers, let him take over the city and use his company, and did nothing, while his cops hurt the people he claimed to care about, just sitting in his mansion all these years alone. Not to mention how his son has been in the city right under his nose and he didn't even notice. All because he's scared. His entire life he's been a scared little boy, ever since he was 8 years old, and he decided to make his parents' death everyone else's problem. The whole room goes quiet before Bruce says, "Stupid kid. Batman should have stayed dead." Damian fills them all in on Derek's plan, and they all agree something has to be done, but they can't decide what. Some of them agree that it's too far and it has to be stopped, but some of them think that maybe this force is necessary to keep the crime down and it should just be regulated a little bit. They've lived happy lives in retirement. They have families now. They're not sure if they're ready for that kind of change. We've got neo-Gotham, neo-cops, and now neo-liberals, baby. All the while, Bruce just stays silent. During the family's arguments, Jason Todd sneaks his way over to Terry. He smuggles him a Batarang and tells him to cut the line and make a break for it on a signal. Of all these people, Jason is he's the only one who understands him. In his years, Jason has seen dozens, if not hundreds of kids just like Terry. The retired billionaire, the daughter of a cop, the son of Batman, they wouldn't get it. But Jason Todd, who also grew up on the street, who also was the bad kid, the one that nobody gave a chance. Out of nowhere, Ace starts barking at Bruce. He won't stop, leading the entire Bat family to try and calm him down. Distracted. That's as good a signal as any. I'm a firm believer that if you have a dog in a movie, he should always be 100% morally correct. Dogs are angels, and they're always right about everything all the time. Terry cuts the line, able to move again, and he makes a break for it. The Bat family tries to fight him and stop him, but most of them are all old as hell and more than 20 years out of practice. He's younger than them, stronger than them, faster than them, and he's able to escape and break his way out of the cave. Terry returns home. He takes off the costume and throws it against the wall. There's a gentle knock on the door. His mother coming in to check on him. She's worried about him. He sneaks out all night, he's not sleeping, and when he's home, she sees he's covered in scars and bruises. It feels like she doesn't even know him anymore. She's not angry. She's not disappointed. She's scared. After losing his father, she doesn't want to lose him too. Terry curls up in his mother's arms. He's sorry for everything. He's sorry for the person that he is. He's sorry that he's a bad kid. He misses his dad so much. Terry, you are a good kid. He would be proud of you. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. For a moment, they just sit there together. After so many years of trying to hide it, to repress it and move on, for the first time, they're able to mourn. Terry looks at the batsuit, at the bright red symbol cutting through the darkness of the black costume. That fire, it's still burning, and he won't let it be snuffed out so easily. But there's someone he has to talk to first. We cut to a bedroom in a small apartment in the city. Dana walks in, talking on the phone with her friend. She says that she's getting sick of Terry and his whole disappearing act. That's when she sees a figure standing in the shadows. Batman emerges from the darkness. He tells her what's going on, with Powers and the GCPD distributing Blight to make a new breed of super cop. That she needs to get her and her family out of the city before something happens, and to spread the word to everyone she knows. At first, she doesn't believe him. For months, the new Batman has been busting their asses every single night, picking fights with the Joker gang, arresting them. He's no better than your average cop. Not to mention that he may have killed Grayson, the only guy who's actually been trying to do any real good. Batman admits that, at first, he was in this for the wrong reasons. He was angry, just looking for any excuse for a fight. But now he understands. Now he's found his purpose. He tells her to spread the word to her friends, and to especially stay away from the GCPD. Blight has to be destroyed before Powers flies it out to Star City tomorrow morning, before it spreads outside of Gotham. Batman perches on her windowsill. She asks why her? Why is he telling her any of this? A friend wanted to make sure you were safe, just in case something happens. We cut to Bruce, sitting in the Batcave, alone once again, mourning the loss of his first son with nobody by his side. He looks at the glass case, holding the original Batsuit, the one he first put on when he started this whole crusade, purple gloves and all. Why did he do it? Was it just the result of an 8-year-old boy's nightmare? And when his time came, when his body failed him and he crossed that line, was it the right call for him to kill it? To let the legend die? Or can the Batman be greater than one man? Terry stands on a roof, looking up at the massive GCPD skyscraper. He has with him a series of small explosive charges. The sun rises in 3 hours. 3 hours to destroy not only all of the Venom in the Blight factory, but also to delete the database, to erase every known existence of the Venom formula so that Powers, or anyone else for that matter, can never repeat it. They upped security since he last broke in, and the only way in is through the front door. It's swarming with guards and officers, presumably all hopped up on Neo Venom by now, but it's his only option. Terry gets a call in his earpiece from none other than Bruce Wayne. Bruce calls to apologize for the things he said, for the way that he and the family treated him. They were hurt, they were grieving, but they should have trusted Terry. Terry tries to apologize too, but Bruce says that Terry was right about him being scared, right about how his inaction as Bruce Wayne led to this mess, and it's about time someone make it right. The two of them may have come from different worlds, but being Batman isn't about money or blood, it's about pain and willpower, about taking the fire and the anger in your soul and using it for good, something that Terry has in spades, and Bruce just didn't see it until now. And Bruce isn't the only one. Terry looks at the city skyline behind him, and the city lights begin to change. Apartment windows, cars, you name it. Everybody in Gotham. Dana, just like Terry had asked, spread the word about what the GCPD was doing and how Batman was the only one fighting back. So they send him a message. We see people all over the city, strangers, Dana, the people Terry saved, even his brother Matt, changing their lights to show them that they're rooting for him. A signal. Bruce is able to hack into the power grid for the skyscraper. He doesn't have full control, he's no oracle or anything, but he'll try and help out the best he can. Terry fights his way through the building, one man against an army of Venom-charged Neocops. But the numbers start to become too much for him. Once again, he comes across the holding cells for the GCPD, filled to the brim with Joker gang members, each and every one of them arrested for having Blight with the Batman's help. Terry always looked down on the Joker gang, but he realizes now that they're not so different. Sure, they model themselves off of a maniac, but they're just regular people trying to make it by, manipulated by powers in the system that Terry helped put away and made into criminals, and he just never gave them a chance. And after what happened with the last Joker that was in here, Terry opens all of the cells, releasing them all. Some of them run away to escape, to return back to their lives, but some stay, and they help fight off the GCPD, the legacy of the Batman and the legacy of the Joker, now with a common goal. Even Damian Wayne joins the fight, smashing through the window, all decked out in his bodyguard armor. The two of them fight side by side, and there could be this little moment where Damian makes it clear that he still doesn't respect Terry as Batman, but he'll make an exception this once. It's what Dick would have wanted. Hey, it's nice to finally have a Robin. The Jokers and Damian are able to hold off the officers long enough for Terry to break down the elevator shaft towards the Blight factory. We cut to Powers in the heart of the factory as he's desperately trying to back up his database. The room is filled with tanks of the original Venom formula, as well as highly radioactive materials used to turn it into Blight. We hear the sound of gunfire and screaming, and Terry kicks down the door. Powers pulls out a gun and points it at Terry, saying that the computer needs a retina scan to delete the database. Terry grabs the gun and throws it to the ground before slamming Powers' face into the scanner, unlocking the computer. Thanks for letting me know. Derek lunges at Terry. Terry tosses him aside and he crashes into the Venom tank. The tank shatters, dousing Powers in the raw radiated venom, sending him flying into the wall. Terry rushes to check on him, the suit scanning him. He's alive. He's all fucked up and he needs an ambulance, but he'll live. He deletes the database and starts placing the explosive charges in all the Venom containers to destroy it for good. But before he can place the final charge, a hand grabs a hold of Terry and throws him through a nearby wall. Terry looks up to see Bane as he injects himself with a full vial of Venom, allowing it to course through his entire bloodstream. The man grows and grows into a massive hulking figure. Bruce says that Bane doesn't care about Powers, the Venom, or anything else. He just wants a fight. Then let's give him what he wants. Bane sends blow after blow into Terry, the Batsuit's armor not able to absorb the impact. You wear his symbol. You claim his title. Terry uses both his hands to grab a hold of Bane's fist, but his strength is overbearing. But you're just a child, a fraud, a weak, worthless stain on the fabric of his legacy. Terry opens his eyes and grits his teeth. His bones broken, his heart pounding in his ears. He's had to listen to this his whole life. From his teachers, his classmates, the cops, from every single person who thought they were better than him. It made him angry. And for years, he didn't know who he was angry at. Well, now he knows. You're just a punk who thinks he's Batman. He focuses on those feelings, the feelings of pain, of anger, of rage, of vengeance, of the night. I am Batman. Terry takes the last detonator and arms it to Bane's chest. It explodes, sending them both flying back. Bane lays on the ground, the fire and the smoke completely surrounding him. He looks up to see a man walking through the flames. No, not a man, a symbol. The Batman has returned. Bane slowly stands. He grabs venom stashes from all around him, vials upon vials of it, and he injects it all into his bloodstream. More and more venom, the most he's ever used in his life. Every last drop, he needs it to finally complete his mission and break the bat. The fire in his soul, it burns for... He freezes. His bones crumble. His body goes numb. The venom. His body can't take it anymore. As he fades from consciousness, he can only think of one thing. He's broken. The bat broke him. We fade to Dick Grayson's funeral, weeks later. The city put out all the stops to bury him with honors, the Batman still at large for the mayor's murder. Much of the public believes he's innocent, but the GCPD will continue their citywide manhunt to bring him to justice. A man walks up to the stage and speaks on behalf of the late mayor. Bruce Wayne, after 20 long years, reemerges in the public eye to announce that he's bought back his shares of Wayne Enterprises. And he's going to make it his mission to create social programs and facilities to help the disenfranchised, to fix his mistake and bring balance back to the city of Gotham. It's what the mayor would have wanted. Derek Powers sits in his office high above the people he hurt on the streets below. He somehow survived the accident at the factory with minimal injuries, and he set up his operation so he could have plausible deniability about the whole thing, with Bane taking the entire fall for the Blight operation. All of the venom in existence was destroyed, and with Bane currently in a coma thanks to his overdose, he's not going to be making more anytime soon. He'll have to be a little bit more careful, but regardless, to anyone that matters, Derek Powers is completely innocent. He looks up at his hand, and for a brief second, his blood pulses with green energy. We see a glimpse at a glowing skeleton beneath his flesh. Terry stands on a rooftop, overlooking the Gotham skyline. This city his home, corrupted, twisted, and abused by those with the money and the power. But its people are still good. They still need saving. The world, for all of his effort, has not changed. The Venom may be all destroyed, but power still owns the police. The disenfranchised still suffer, while the wealthy still sit high above them in their ivory towers. On the surface, it's exactly the same as when he first put on this suit. But one thing has changed. All of his effort, his sacrifice, it hasn't gone unnoticed. Now, when the people look up, they see something new. Now they see a symbol. Someone who won't stop fighting for them. Even at the end of the world, when the ones we put our faith in lose their way, light always cuts through the darkness. Where there is apathy, greed, corruption, power, there is hope, honor, courage, and justice. The Batman lives on, now, forever, and beyond. So yeah, Warner Brothers, James Gunn, you could just get back to me whenever on that. And then maybe we can get talking about Green Arrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you like this video, be sure to let the YouTube algorithm know and hit the like button and subscribe. Special thanks to Alto the Sting, Ans, Cabbage Boy, Cassidy, Carol Ann Brenneman, Chicken McDoofus, Cooksey, Cosmic Tragedy, Danny Boy, Deco PY, Dreamer Who, Eden Kenna, Egan McFarlane, Fastest Man Dead, Hannah C, Howard Bell, Iron Ninja, Jake Selig, Jumpman Morrow, Corey's Not Fresh, Glass Bear Productions, Murren09, Popcorn Eater 123, Roderick Hare, Spectacular Clyde, TDW Fan, Theo Crouch, Tim Neufeld, Trans Huntress, Choice Spy Razor is lame, Tyler Goodrich, and Josh Kapoor for being spectacular fanboys on my Patreon. This has been Troy Boy 17 coming at you live. Be responsible, and I'll see you around.